Breaking news: a Russian oil tanker heads for Cuba. Trump issues a stark warning. In Havana, workers and officials pace nervously as the world watches. The massive tanker slices through the Atlantic, packed with much-needed fuel. The U.S. warns Russia not to intervene, but Russia stands firm. In Havana, tension is electric. The world holds its breath. Russia and Cuba share a long, complex history. During the Cold War, the Soviet Union was Cuba's lifeline. Now, Russia is stepping back in, signaling loyalty and ambition. The U.S. warns Russia, this is about power and influence. For Cuba, it's about survival, pride, and sovereignty. The stakes feel higher than ever. Cuba faces desperate fuel shortages and rolling blackouts. Streets are dark, businesses close early, and hospitals struggle to keep lights on. The arrival of a Russian oil tanker is a rare lifeline. Without it, the crisis deepens. With it, there's hope, if only for a while. U.S. sanctions are at the heart of Cuba's energy crisis. For decades, American laws have restricted trade, banking, and investment with Cuba. Fuel imports are especially hard hit, and foreign companies risk heavy fines for selling oil to Cuba. The result? Blackouts, food shortages, and rising costs. Ordinary people pay the price. The Russian tanker's journey is risky, tracked by satellites, watched by warships, and discussed in diplomatic cables. Every mile brings new dangers, from rough seas to threats of interception. Russian naval vessels may shadow the tanker, underscoring Moscow's resolve. The world watches, waiting to see who will blink first. For ordinary Cubans, the crisis is daily reality. Blackouts roll through cities and villages. People cook by candlelight. Fans sit idle in the heat. Social media spreads tips, but many are exhausted. Yet Cubans are known for resilience. Life goes on in the dark. Everything hangs on what happens next. If the tanker docks safely, it could bring weeks of relief. Power cuts would ease, hospitals could operate more smoothly, the government would claim a victory over sanctions, and morale would rise. But the shipment alone won't solve the crisis. It's a temporary fix, not a cure. If the tanker is blocked, the consequences could be severe. Tensions would spike. Russia might send more ships or even military escorts. Cuba's shortages would worsen, sparking more unrest. The United States would face criticism for deepening a humanitarian crisis, but it might also show its resolve to enforce its policies. There are legal risks, too. Intercepting the tanker could lead to confrontation on the high seas, raising fears of a larger conflict. Diplomats on all sides are working overtime to avoid a direct clash. For now, Everyone is waiting and watching. The outcome will shape Cuba's future and send a message to the world about what power, loyalty, and survival really mean in today's geopolitics. International reaction has been swift. Some countries back Russia's right to help Cuba, citing humanitarian needs. Others warn against raising tensions in the Caribbean. The United Nations calls for restraint and dialogue. Aid groups warn of disaster if fuel shortages persist. European leaders urge all sides to avoid escalation. Latin American neighbors watch nervously, worried about instability spreading. Human rights groups highlight the suffering of ordinary Cubans, calling for the United States to ease sanctions that, as they say, punish the people, not the government. The crisis has sparked debate about international law. Who has the right to send or block aid? What happens when political disputes threaten basic survival? The world is divided, but most agree the human cost is just too high. Calls for restraint grow louder. The hope is that cooler heads will prevail, and that this tanker will not become the spark for a new, wider conflict. In the end, this crisis is about more than oil or geopolitics. It's about people, families in Havana, doctors in rural clinics, children waiting for the lights to come back on. Political leaders make decisions from afar, but it's ordinary Cubans who live with the consequences. The Russian tanker has become a symbol of hope and defiance, yet it also shows the limits of politics when human needs are at stake. Sanctions, alliances, and rivalries shape the headlines, but they cannot hide the suffering below. As the world watches, one question remains: can leaders find a way to balance power with compassion? The story of this tanker is not just about Cuba, Russia, or the United States. It's a warning and a call to remember the lives behind the drama.